Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. Welcome to a GT Sport Daily Race race review from this week's race. It's the new races. It's Group 3 at the Nurburgring, 24-hour layout, and this one is just about keeping it on the road. But here's the detailed settings for the race. Not much to this, to be perfectly honest with you. 2 laps to get round, just the medium tyres available. Fuel and tyre wear, not any kind of issue. No mandatory pit stops, no mandatory tyres. It's just a 2-lap sprint, as we sort of covered in the Daily Race strategy guide just yesterday. So here is the lobby for this one. A few familiar names in there. We are on the American server. Womble Sheriff in action. We have Tarana Cyrus Rex just in front of us. I've quite a popular Twitch GT Sport streamer, so do check out his channel. Very, very fast driver indeed. But we're in the FT1 here on the run down to turn number 1. Starting P14, we didn't have a qualifying time, and we discover that the FT1 apparently with cold tyres and cold brakes does not stop into turn 1 very well at all. We do manage to survive it just about, but we lose a couple of positions to a couple of Brazilians, one in a BMW Z4 I believe, and the other one in a McLaren F1. Certainly not either car I think would be recommended for this race, which seems to be mostly dominated by the Supra, but it looks like the Corvette is competitive, and the FT1 that we're in appears to be pretty decent as well. Yeah, a far from ideal start. I kind of had a funny feeling these two drivers were probably a little bit slower than us, but at the end of the day, we make the mistake, that's the price you pay. Let's see if we can get back past these drivers as soon as possible. And we're going to get our first little chance, or a little glimmer of hope, down in towards the sort of relatively tight left-hander here. The McLaren's going to go a little bit wide. Bit of a risky move to go around the outside of a Brazilian into a corner like this, but fair play to that driver. Gives us plenty of space to play with, and we get the job done around the outside. And looks like we should be comfortably able to get into the chicane just ahead of that driver, which is always ideal. Certainly don't want to be going side by side through that corner. So let's fast forward the action a little bit as we come on to the long blast down towards, I don't actually know the names of any of the corners on this track, I'm going to be honest with you. But anyway, this is a sort of, after this very fast right-hander up here, we've got a very long blast down towards another kind of semi-speed right-hander. It's an overtaking opportunity if you've got the overspeed on the car in front of you. It's very, very narrow. It's very easy to kind of just dip a wheel onto the grass and for it to go all completely wrong. You're kind of relying on a little bit of compliance from the other driver to sort of keep their line. And again, in fairness to the Brazilian that we've passed there in the Z4, they do absolutely that. Now, it does look like we're going to commit murder here, but I can assure you that I think we were actually going to make a little bit of contact with that Brazilian driver. I think they're in an M6, but it certainly wasn't going to be enough contact to put them off the track. But we then took a fairly decent dunt from behind the driver in the Z4, and that kind of resulted in a bit of a concertina effect that left Velas, I think that driver's name was, in the sand. Unfortunate, just one of these things, unfortunately, in any racing game, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, that driver's race has been ruined. We managed to carry on relatively unscathed. Make up another couple of positions there. A bit of an incident between Cyrus and Dark Sword of some sort has resulted in both of them falling behind us. We took a little bit of a risk by driving through the ghost of Cyrus's Corvette there. GT Sport has this uncanny ability to unghost a car a millisecond before you're about to drive through it. I think we've all been a victim of that particular little troll from PD, but in this case we managed to survive, and we'll fast forward the action again down towards another long sort of full throttle blast where you can make an overtake. Again, you're looking for some compliance from the other car because it's so narrow. In this instance, Cyrus in the Corvette has managed to overtake us. We weren't too bothered here at this point in the race. I'm just concentrating on keeping the car on the track and just relying on incidents between other drivers to start making up positions, and it's kind of worked fairly well so far, it has to be said. And a few corners later, Cyrus is going to go for a bit of an opportunistic overtake on El Matador up the inside here. It's a very tight, surprisingly tight left-hander. You can see both drivers there clearly trying to give each other room, but Matador catches the curb, a little bit of contact, sends Cyrus off the track. Then I thought we were going to get away with it scot-free, drive right through the middle of them, but El Matador's car then snaps back into our path, puts us into the barrier. I got to be honest with you, I thought it was curtains at that point. I thought the car was going to be doing a 360 facing backwards like I usually tend to whenever I have an accident, but we kind of got away with it, with maybe only losing around about 3 seconds, and that gave us some nice clean track to then just put in some half decent corners, some half decent pace. So at this point we're going to sort of jump all the way forward here until about the last few minutes of the race. You've seen the driver there in the Mazda spinning, so that was one position we made up. Then we caught up with this driver in the Supra. There's around about 5 or 6 cars there just in front of us. Now we were starting to get held up by the Supra here. We did have a 4-second gap back to the Corvette behind. That's Cyrus, who's also recovering from that incident with El Matador. But that gap was coming down corner by corner. I think it's around about 1.5 seconds now. And I really didn't want to have a Corvette, to be perfectly honest with you, in my slipstream on the long straight right at the end of the lap. The Corvette and the Supra probably much better suited to that part of the track than our FT1. Although in fairness to the FT1, it certainly can get a fair speed up in the slipstream and kind of hold on. But in clean air, it doesn't quite have the grunt to sort of match those two cars. So we are going to make our way past this Supra here. Again, I've just caught the curb. Very easy to catch a curb, and the Nurburgring's very, very, very bumpy in this game. You certainly feel the bumps a lot more on this track than a lot of other tracks, and it looks like that driver was just caught out by some of the bumps and is then actually going to take a trip into the barrier. It's all going very wrong for that Supra in the last couple of minutes of the race. But we join back on board for the FT1 here as we come into the fast right-hander before the long straight down towards the end of the lap, and we just about managed to keep it in the slipstream here of the Corvette. Actually timed it not too bad, made sure we carried more speed out of the corner. So we're now closing up onto this Corvette all the way, the Canadian Mavic. I think there's an Atenza up ahead that's just served a half-second penalty, and we've got essentially 5 cars all kind of closing on each other, and this is a very, very, very dodgy situation. You're very much relying on some compliance and some sensibility from the other drivers. I'm not sure why the Atenza decided to sort of move on over on us there as we were passing them, but we're up to 7th place now, but there's running out of road. You've now just got to kind of make sure you're sensible into this part of the corner. You can't overtake here. We actually do make up another position. I think an Argentine has been reset. We did have a bit of a run on the Mercedes there. Hopefully, I was thinking we may just get them on the line, but have a little bit of an oversteer moment. Kind of end up in our path, and it's 6th place in the end. Cyrus there doing a good job to recover to P7 as he had a much bigger kind of fallout from that incident with the Mexican. But yeah, really all we did there was kept it on the road. We made some nice decisions. We got a little bit lucky as well, but you know, let me know how you're getting on with this race. It's my opinion, keep the car on the road, you should do okay, and just try and avoid any incidents that sort of take place in front of you. Easier said than done on a very, very narrow track like this, and with the barriers being so close as well, very often somebody spins off, hits the barrier and comes back into your path. So yeah, it can be extremely frustrating, but the intensity of it I actually think makes it quite good fun. Let me know what you think anyway, and if you have liked this video, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye now.